Get great deals on the latest phones, tablets, and business apps with O2 Business. You're watching Btekt, I'm Basil, and these are two of the best devices out right now, both powered along by incredible Snapdragon 820 processors with 4 GB of RAM, and yet they're both also sufficiently different. This is the S7 Edge, this is the HTC 10, and you're watching our comparison. Before I dive into it, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Subscribing, it really helps us out, and it means you stay on top of all the videos that we do, like this one. Right, getting back to it, these two phones head-on look quite similar. You've got home buttons, you've also got screens, you've got front cameras. Well, they look like phones. Turn them around though and things get a little bit different. You've got kind of matte Batmobile black type finish on the HTC 10, available in a range of colors including gold and silver. The chamfered or heavily kind of beveled edges really do make it look quite masculine and bold. Still, in hand, there's a curvature to it that gives it a slight softness, and it does feel quite comfortable. It has a smaller screen of these two devices, 5.2 inches versus 5.5 inches. The S7 Edge, by contrast, is curved back, curved glass front, just feels quite elegant generally. It also feels a bit more manageable in spite of the fact it actually has the smaller screen of the two, which is an interesting feat of engineering by Samsung. You can also see metal frame is where your hands hold onto, but there is a danger of kind of falling onto the screen a little bit. So if you are worried about that, check one out in the flesh before you pick one up. Right, as far as design highlights go, the HTC 10 has a capacitive button below the display. Unlike the physical home button on the S7 Edge, it doubles up as a fingerprint scanner as well though. You've got capacitive buttons either side. Down at the base, USB-C, you've got a bottom firing speaker and a front firing speaker as well. That camera, the front camera, yep, autofocus and image stabilization. Right hand side, you've got volume rocker and power button. You've also got a nano SIM card slot. Left hand side, you've got an SD card slot. This is a micro SD and it's expandable not just in terms of natural expandability like with the S7 Edge. You've also got adaptable storage, so the SD card can actually fuse with the internal memory so you can install apps on it. You can also output high-res audio, and the HTC 10 is the first device I've come across to ship with high-res audio headphones out of the box as standard. I've listened to them and they sound great. Around the back, 12 megapixel rear camera, f1.8 lens as well, image stabilization. You've got a dual tone flash and laser autofocus. Right, putting that down, we can see 5.5 inches of Quad HD AMOLED display, looks stupendous. You have a 5 megapixel front firing camera, capacitive buttons either side of the home button, the physical home button, and down at the base, micro USB. More traditional, less future-proof, still does a good job. What do you think? Are you annoyed that there isn't a USB Type-C on here? 3.5mm jack, loudspeaker that's very easy to cover up, so I would have loved a front firing speaker on this thing. Left-hand side, you've got volume buttons, right-hand side power button, up at the top is no buttons whatsoever. Around the back, 12 megapixel camera, also loaded up with image stabilization, also loaded up with a flash. This time around though, you've got a heart rate monitor. What you also have under the hood is wireless charging to pair with that battery. Now what's inside? It's Android versus Android. HTC's Sense versus Samsung's TouchWiz type UI. So Samsung has streamlined everything, as has HTC, and what you end up with is optional blink feed type flipboard briefing to the left, and we've got rid of it on both devices, which both support. You've got applications tray on both, vertically scrolling on the HTC versus horizontally scrolling on the Samsung, and you've got two-tiered notification tray. I actually prefer the notification tray on the Samsung UI, even though it's less stock, which generally is a pretty good thing. You've got more customization as to your quick toggles, and more to the point, you have an automatic brightness toggle on the brightness control, which is a sweet deal. And generally though, both will support the same kinds of applications and deliver a similar user interface experience, although yeah, it's going to come down to personal preference largely, which is going to be the right one for you. I will say that both perform very, very smoothly, and HTC has done a great job of streamlining the user interface, ensuring that it just is very, very finger friendly, responsive to the touch. They tout that it's actually more responsive than the iPhone 6s Plus, which is a good thing, because that is more responsive than any other Android phone out there. Right, back to the phones. Under the hood, like I said, powering both along Snapdragon 820 processors, 4 GB of RAM. You shouldn't have any trouble gaming on these things. The only differences gaming-wise will be the screen quality and discrepancy across both, depending on what you prefer, and of course, covering up that speaker. So having the front-firing speaker on the HTC 10 will be a good thing. You can also expect different performance as far as the cameras go. We haven't tested them out thoroughly side by side. Both 12 megapixel with image stabilization, though, both perform well in automatic mode on a couple of first-time uses with the HTC 10, but you can shoot RAW on the HTC 10. Don't think you can off the top of my head on the S7 Edge, but you can still manually control focus and shutter speed and everything on both devices. I actually really like the Pro mode on the Samsung S7 Edge. As you can see, you can control everything by a simple toggle right here. And what's great about the manual focus on the Pro mode on the S7 Edge is, I'm going a little bit off tangent here, manual focus, when you zoom in, it actually gives you a close-up preview, so you can make sure your manual focus is spot on point, which is great. HTC's manual mode is a teeny weeny bit finicky, but it's much easier to access. In fact, the whole camera UI is fundamentally better than it has ever been on an HTC device. So pull down from the top, I can jump into Pro mode very easily, manual focus, and I can tap off automatic and focus nice and close, so I can get a nice detailed shot of the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. This is by no means a full review, but what it can definitely illustrate is that you can get a very nice shot on both devices, and you have a lot of control over the pictures that you take. Front camera's quality, you'll have to wait for the full review on that. But yeah, as far as other multimedia goes, like I said, gaming will be a breeze. Same kinds of support for applications like Netflix, BBC iPlayer, etc. Google Play Movies, be easy as pie to get video on here. Music, Spotify, you've got Tidal. Tidal on the HTC will take advantage of that high-res audio output, so I can definitely see why you'd want to opt for that if you had the HTC 10. And in addition to that, connectivity is going to be so good on both. You've got 4G Cat 6 across both devices, as well as 3G Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and everything else you could want. The only area that the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge edges ahead of the HTC 10 is in terms of battery. It's got a 3600 milliamp cell as opposed to a 300 milliamp cell, and it also has wireless charging, both standards supported, which would have been really useful for a device with a USB Type-C. Generally though, really impressed with both. Really love how HTC's tried to differentiate with the audio focus, and the Samsung S7 Edge kind of just speaks for itself. It's an absolute beauty and beast all at the same time. What do you think? Which one wins it for you? The S7 Edge or the HTC 10? Let us know in the comments section below, and remember, if you like the video and like the channel, click the like button and subscribe. It's how you'll be staying on top of everything that we do. Thanks for watching Btekt. Get great deals on the latest phones, tablets and business apps with O2 Business.